Good afternoon, I'm O'Shane Masters with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. General Secretary of the People's National Party, Julian Robinson, has tested positive for COVID-19. In a release this morning, Mr. Robinson said after briefly experiencing some signs of tiredness, he did 2 COVID-19 tests, following a false negative. The PNP General Secretary says since experiencing symptoms, he has avoided contact with the party's campaign leadership and stopped direct campaign activities in his St. Andrews Southeastern constituency. He's now in self-isolation. Going forward, he says he'll not take part physically in the rest of the general election campaign. The Health Ministry says it has decided against imposing quarantines for Kingston and St. Andrew communities because they would be too difficult to manage. More in this report. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Besesa McKenzie told Thursday's media briefing that new COVID-19 cases are concentrated in both parishes. Most of the cases are in the Barbican, Constant Spring, Half a Tree, and 3 Miles areas.
Day to day, we are picking up a number of cases, and we are seeing these cases right across the communities. It again means that in these communities and right across Kingston and St. Andrews, persons must take the necessary precautions to prevent any kind of exposure of themselves, exposure of their families, and of course, most importantly, when you put yourself in the way where you can become infected, you risk exposure to your family members who may be vulnerable and are at the risk of developing severe infection.
The government earlier this week indicated that several corporate area communities would be placed under stay-at-home orders. However, yesterday, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton indicated that the authorities had reversed that decision. The ministry was quizzed about why it has not implemented quarantines in the corporate area, as has been done in Clarendon and St. Thomas. Dr. Besesa McKenzie noted that the corporate area has more than 1 million residents and it would be too difficult to enforce the quarantine.
The walls of every community are so porous that in terms of managing movement and restricting movements in those communities would be extremely difficult. Therefore, we would press more for general restrictions, which some have been announced already, in terms of getting those areas under control. Hence, this was one of the main reasons for the curfew, increasing the curfew hours, to get persons off the streets into their homes and to decrease the amount of movement in the communities.
O'Shane Masters. The 2 major political parties faced off last night in the second national debate for the election season. During the debate, JLP's Dr. Nigel Clark blasted the PNP's wealthy plan as he went up against Mark Golding on issues of the economy and finance.
Thursday night's second national debate for the election season saw the JLP's Dr. Nigel Clark and the PNP's Mark Golding square off on issues of the economy and finance. Funding for both the PNP and the JLP plans kick-started the debate. Under its wealthy plan, the PNP promised to give each household $3,000 credit per month towards electricity bills and $1,000 credit per month towards water bills. This would cost the government about $26.4 billion yearly. Mr. Golding said that the party intends to use over $280 billion in discretionary funding from the national budget, as well as resources from cash-rich public bodies to fund the plan. This, he explained, would be done without imposing new taxes.
Some of that will be paid for through the consolidated fund. Some will be paid for through public bodies that have surpluses that are available for that. We do not intend to levy any new taxes. Jamaica is in a deep recession. We're in a crisis at this time. We cannot impose taxes on the people at this time because it would be counterproductive.
But Dr. Clark chastised the plan and dismissed the PNP's promise. He argues that the PNP could not implement a plan without imposing taxes.
It is simply not credible, it misses the mark, and it is a big bag of tricks. The resources, when you look at their proposal, easily, over 5 years, it would easily cost $100 billion just from a few items. The resources of government come from you, the people. When they were last in office for 4 years, they levied $53 billion of taxes. And that is the only way for them to finance this. When they're finished taxing the Jamaican people to finance their $100 billion of expenditure, all of Jamaicans will be left with a little bit of money.
But the JLP in its manifesto outlined plans that would cost billions. Dr. Clark says the party's plans would be funded through $5 billion of the new central government expenditure, which is not yet accounted for.
And that $5 billion covers the cost of operationalizing the free Wi-Fi. This is free Wi-Fi in town centers, operationalizing our daycare center proposal, as well as the grants for that are not yet programmed, of which $500 million for communities, $2 billion out of the 3 for fisher folk. The rest have been accounted for already.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
And despite the impact of COVID-19 on the country's economy, the People's National Party is blaming the JLP administration for the slide in the dollar. Since March, when Jamaica had its first COVID-19 case, the dollar has depreciated by 12%. During last night's national debate, PNP's Mark Golding said the slide in the dollar has added $150 billion to the national debt.
With the dollar sliding the way it has, it affects people in their pockets. Prices are going up, hardship is on the land. Nigel, the housewives are calling you Mr. 150 to 1 because it's under your watch that you've allowed this to happen. We believe the foreign exchange market needs tighter regulation and a different structure to ensure the productive sector get foreign exchange that they need.
Now, political commentator Shalman Scott says new taxes will have to be implemented to fund a number of promises that have been outlined in the manifestos of both major political parties. Now, both parties have outlined a number of multi-million and billion-dollar initiatives, which they say will be undertaken without any significant burden on the population. But Mr. Scott says, based on what is happening with the economy at present, it will not happen.
There has been some comments from Minister Clark last night about how employment may be falling and the devaluation of the dollar may be rising, but yet at the same time, poverty is declining. Nothing can go like that. It is contradictory to every principle in economics and every process, as we have tremendous empirical evidence about these matters right across the globe. That's not how it goes. We are in a lot of problems as the Jamaican dollar devalues. Every 1% of devaluation of the Jamaican dollar, it increases our national debt by $10 billion. And in the last month or so, we have had about 15% devaluation of the Jamaican dollar.
Mr. Scott says the plans by both parties will also be hampered based on Jamaica's credit worthiness, which he says is not in a good position currently. In the meantime, he says he believes the PNP's Mark Golding was the winner in last night's economy and finance debate.
Minister of Finance Clark seems very tense and at other times seemed contemptuous, which resulted in impacting on the presentation that he made in respect to the exercise. As a result of that, and his face was very taut, and he was not relaxed at all, in contrast to Mark Golding, who was very relaxed and made a positive contribution to the discussion and was much more helpful than Minister Clark, who seemed to always be on the defensive.
And we now take a break on the midday news. We'll be right back. Welcome back, continuing the news. Improved water systems and diversification in employment. That's the main driver for both candidates contesting the Centre and Northeastern seat. Increased attention has been placed on what is considered a safe seat for the Jamaica Labour Party following the passing of its Member of Parliament, Shahini Robinson, on May 29. Since being created in 1959, the Centre and North Eastern seat has been won by the People's National Party, the PNP 8 of the 12 times, while the Jamaica Labour Party has won it 4 times. However, in a 2001 by-election in the constituency, the seat has been held by the JLP through their late Member of Parliament, Shahini Robinson. In the 2002 election, Ms. Robinson polled 11,155 to defeat Carol Jackson, who polled 9,981. But the People's National Party's Keith Brown says from all indications, the seat will once again be in the fold of his party.
When Shahini first won the seat, she won by 473 votes. This has widened 3,022 in the last election. Mark up and down. That is because there are people who found her to be very approachable, very good person. And even though they were quote unquote PNP people, they gave her their support. These people, not having Shahini now, will not remain there.
But the JLP's Marsha Smith says she will be drawing on the legacy of the late former MP to carry the mantle for the constituency.
Around her were a team of persons who were very important to this legacy, and they're still here. It is my intention to work with the people of Northeast St. Anne to ensure that that legacy is preserved, protected, and built upon.
One of the main issues for both candidates is a reduction in the dependability on tourism.
We need to diversify, where we need to get into other type of activities, such as agro processing, and we can deal with a vast majority of other stuff, being a city, a township, and the coastline.
There was recently a BPO that was opened in the Draxall area, which will create employment for persons in the constituency. And the good thing about that type of job is that some of the same skills from tourism can be retooled within a BPO environment. So we want to make the persons of Northeast St. Anne as versatile as possible on the labour market, not just for tourism, but any other industry that may arise.
But on the night of September 3, Ms. Smith says victory will be in the hands of the JLP.
We in this constituency, we have a burning desire to ensure that the legacy of Shahini Robinson is maintained and preserved, and only the Labour Party candidate, which is me, can ensure that that happens.
My respect goes out to the powerful woman. She was very loved. To me, she was more PNP than JLP. It's just that to me, she was on the wrong side. But what the people crave right now is not PNP or JLP, but leadership. And being a PNP and the leadership is going to enable the People's National Party to retake this deal.
Former sugarcane workers in Golden Grove St. Thomas received outstanding payments owed to them yesterday. The workers were paid $50,000, half of what was paid to the former sugarcane workers in April of this year. One former machine operator at the sugar factory spoke to our news team.
It's not that we are totally satisfied, but at least it gives a ease within the temperament of what is going on around here right now.
Former chairman of the All-Island Jamaica Cane Farmers Association, Alan Rickard, said he is concerned about why only half of the money was paid yesterday.
And I don't know that there is any logical reason why the other workers who were paid before Easter got 100,000 and these only got 50,000. Can't tell you because I don't know. Doesn't seem to me to be any logical reason.
He added that the farmers in Golden Grove should be given first preference to lease the lands.
I most certainly do, and I made representations to that effect very early in the game because I couldn't understand how it was, and I said so to the minister. I wanted him to know that his instructions did not seem to be backed up by those who were implementing it.
As uncertainty lingers over the official reopening date for schools, some vendors in Portland are feeling the effects. The vendors, who say they have made preparations for back to school in September, are feeling the effects of the announced delay in reopening.
School shoes, pencils, crayons, hair clips and other back to school items. You name it, vendors in Port Antonio, Portland have it. The only problem, the buyers are scarce.
Yeah, I have to really pack up back some of my stuff, them carry it right. I know we don't really go on, so it don't make no sense carrying out the things them every day and them not sell, so I just put them aside.
Like last year, right now, sale was so good because like I was the second to the last week of shopping, the sale was good.
Why, very slow, you know. Me not even know what to do because I invest a lot of money toward the back to school, and right now I don't see nothing, nobody not one and two some of the days, but most of the time nothing.
The dip in sales was triggered by a recent announcement from the government that the phased reopening of schools will be postponed. This came on the heels of a spike in COVID-19 cases island-wide. As a result, the reopening of school has been moved to October 5. But what does this mean for the vendors who are already struggling due to the pandemic? They say the impact is massive, pointing to how much they've spent to purchase goods.
More than $100,000 of goods about.
And you haven't seen that?
No, sir. I haven't seen about one-tenth of it yet.
Yeah, about 200,000 or probably more.
I put back a lot because I hit me the pen pan for get to struggle back for Christmas, and now me invest all of my money, and as you see, you have nothing to get back now. You don't know what that is to do.
As uncertainty lingers over whether the reopening of school will again be postponed after October 5, these vendors are clinging on to hope things will improve.
To me now, it looks like school not going to open until January.
So how you guys gonna cope with all
Well, after... Well, I just put them up and put down because they're not going to spoil.
Right now, everybody just wait and see, you know. I mean, we don't know what to do. I mean,
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
In sports, Gary Sobrati's exciting classic campaigner Wow Wow will be getting his first real test against graded company when he faces 6 contenders, including Triple Crown winner Supreme Soul and stablemate Tuna Ciliata in the Bonnie Blue Flag Trophy on Saturday's Oaks Day at Cape Manus Park. Spencer Darlington has more.
The mighty 3-year-old Wow Wow, who is the anti-post favorite to win this season's Triple Crown, will be taking on the Anthony Babanionis trained trio, including the informed Tuna Ciliata, who beat some of the island's best sprinters, going 6.5 furlongs with 130 pounds on July 11. 2019 Triple Crown winner Supreme Soul seems to be returning to form after upstaging the likes of the Americans, Race Car and Summer Sun over Saturday's trip on July 25. Also in the lineup is Princess Ava, who impressively beat Overnight Company, posting 1 minute 38 and 1 for a mile on July 12. With those horses in such excellent form, racing fans should expect a cracking contest. However, trainer Gary Sobrati is upset with how the weight allotment has been assigned. Wow Wow will carry 117 pounds.
I think it's a little unfair that he came into this race against a Triple Crown winner and sitting level as a 3-year-old against 4-year-olds. So there's something need to be adjusted there.
Despite not being pleased with the weight allotted to Wow Wow, Sobrati says the race will be used to give the talented 3-year-old a prep run for the second leg of the Triple Crown series to be run on September 26.
We don't have to win this race, but this is a race that we'll use for the St. Ledger. It's a prep race for him, fall into place at the right place, going 2-turn. He needs that experience. So let's see how he handles the race.
Meanwhile, champion trainer Anthony Babanionis says his 3 runners are in great form to help him gain another hold on the Bonnie Blue Flag Trophy.
Supreme Soul has a new ride on in his back in Dane Nelson replacing Shane. He worked well for him in his last work, so we anticipate that he'll give his good effort. Tuna Ciliata, you know, is a horse that can be ridden anywhere. He can be ridden from in front, he can stalk, he can come from off the pace, so that makes him a dangerous horse. And Princess Ava being light and ridden by Dick Cardenas, who is very hot right now, you know, she comes from out of it. So it should be very interesting. The 3 horses have 3 different running styles, so it should be interesting.
Despite being confident about winning the $1.5 million purse money, Nunes says he's not taking anything away from the outstanding charge, Wow Wow.
But Wow Wow is something special, and it's left to be seen how they can perform against him.
The Bonnie Blue Flag Trophy is slated to be run at 3:35 p.m. on Saturday. Spencer Darlington, TVJ Sports.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.